Alright, so I'm going to show you the next couple of steps on the ones that we're going to do on the bottom. I have them sitting right up here right now. So what we're going to start with is creating the base to it. And the base is like these two on the bottom here with the salt and the kind of splatter range. So those two, what you want to do is to do wet on wet for both of them. Just going to spread the water across first real quick. Pick my water up so it's close to me so I can just spread it across. All I'm doing is dipping in and laying it on. I'm going to do, actually I'll do one at a time on these. So the first one, what you want to do is just pick up a bunch of colors, and you can do, let's see, I did yellow on this one, I did blue, and I did purple. So I'm just going to dab some color or some water into those just to activate them. And mostly I'm going to use purple and blue on this, so I'm going to kind of pull across and lay down a layer of purple behind. Then I'm going to pick up my blue. I'm going to kind of intersperse it in here a little bit. And just kind of work quick through there. Now on this one, I want it to be kind of spattered and an interesting background to it. That's one of the fun things with watercolor, is that you can have some fun with that. The yellow, I'm going to actually make sure that I don't pick up together with the other colors, because otherwise it'll mix in and it will become a brownish. So I'm going to wash out my brush, and then I'm going to pick up my color, and I'm going to actually flick it towards it. So I'm going to kind of flick in, and I'm going to do this in parts. I'm going to do a little bit right now, and then I'm going to do a little bit later too. So I'm just kind of taking my brush and flicking a little bit into it, and that will kind of wash out. So I'm going to let that sit for a second and kind of work in. I'll show you one more time again what that's going to look like when we get done with doing what we're doing here. And then the other one, I'm just going to do the salt to get it laid onto there. So, going to just lay the water on. And pick up my color from behind it. I'm going to mainly stay in the blues and greens. Now in this one, it's important that you leave a spot open in the center of it so that you get that kind of sunlight look coming from behind. So I'm going to wash my color into it, pick up just a little bit of green so it looks a little bit more like night. Make sure that blue stays nice and dark, but I don't want it to be totally white in the center. So I am going to make sure there's some water here to kind of go across. It's going for a swim throughout the center there. I could pick up a little bit later too. Pick up a little bit of green so it's not so different. Every side of a watercolor should have similar color in it. It's kind of a rule of watercolor that you don't have like dramatic edges that are different from each other. Everything should kind of work in together. So I'm going to get that floating in there. I'm going to pick up a little bit in the center just by dabbing down here, especially that puddle just happened there. And I'm going to let it be like that. When it's still very shiny, I'm going to pick up my salt and put it down on there. You'll notice one of the sides wasn't quite as wet as the other side was, so it's picking up the paint a little bit less. But there we go for the start. Try to get a little in the center too so it still looks like snow around the outside. I'm going to let that dry completely. I don't want to mess with that too much. Now I'm going to go back to this one. Now I do actually want these kind of puddles to happen in this one. I'm going to wash out my color so that it goes back. Although that one got a little bit harsh, so I'm just going to pick up a little out of that puddle. Now the actual hard edges that happen around the edge of this is because of water being flicked at it afterwards. So I'm going to flick one more set of yellow on it to get that in there. Pick up my color, flick it again. This actually works really good with a toothbrush, and I do have a couple of old toothbrushes around here that weren't used for teeth. They were just used for this, but they're old for this too. So that gives me my color in there. Now I'm going to flick some water at it. And I don't want to overdo this, but you'll see that it's quickly pushing the paint out from the edges, and I'm getting that kind of look. And the cool thing is that you can do this along the way too. You can tap the surface if you want to control a little bit more where this is going to. So there I have that started. I might work on that a little bit more again. Now I'm going to kind of let this sit. I'm just going to pick up the little bit that's puddling big time on the edge here and go from there. Now this I want to let sit. I'm going to actually do something on this really quick just to show, and I think I'm going to even pick this whole thing up. So one sec here, I'm going to get it out of the way so that I can show you what it's like to draw. Okay, so I'm just going to set this underneath here, and I'm just going to draw the shapes. I have the shapes drawn on the board up there. I'm just going to set these up so that you can see them. When you draw the shape of the cabins here, what you want to do is start with two triangles right next to each other, and I usually do it pretty close to where the opening is here. So somewhere around there. Make sure, by the way, that the second day after this is totally dry, you wipe your salt off of there before you do anything. So this is what it will look like on day 2. So I'm going to put two triangles next to each other, and it's okay that the pencils show afterwards. I am drawing a little darker than maybe I would to start out with. I'm going to do just a little darker so you can see a little bit more on the recording. It's a little darker than I would normally start with, but start with the two triangles, bring the top of the roof in on the one of it, and the top of the roof going at the same rate at the other, and then I'm going to go straight down from all 4 of these at about the same height. And I'm going to draw the bottom of the roof in on that one. It runs into the other one. Now this one, this is where people get messed up on cabins. This one has to go at the same, it's parallel to the one across from it, and comes out there, and comes down. So that's the edge of my cabin. And then on these, you can do anything as long as it's overlapping some. The flowers, when you do them, what I do is I start with just kind of a circular for where the center is here. I'm going to go a little darker again so you can see on the video. And then I start down first and make the kind of loppy edges, and then I start kind of bubbling out from there and letting them kind of go in. If you want to do something other than this, and then the last one kind of bubbles up behind it. You want to do something other than this, that is okay as long as it overlaps and they fill the page like these do. So go down first, lop out from it, lop out, just keep doing that until, and this one can actually overlap the other one. I don't want to erase much on here because you can break the surface, but just a touch is fine. Then I'll bubble up for the last one. And 3 is kind of your magic number when it comes to art. So if you can do 3, it's rule of odds, so either do 3 or 5 things anytime that you do them. Even numbers tend to get kind of overdone, and they look very, very static and very symmetrical, which gets kind of boring. So, okay. So you won't be able to draw today. I just wanted you to see that for tomorrow when you come in right away. You can start with that, but get the basis down for these. I'm going to bring this back over and do one more little blots on it. So you can see that it pushed out quite a bit. I'm going to let that, I'm going to actually pick up a little bit of blue over top of it. I'm going to flick a little bit of blue on top. Be careful that you don't go too much on this. You could take a piece of paper and put over top of this, or a paper towel, and that would protect this one if you want to when you're working on this, because you're flicking a little bit. But flick and kind of dab and splatter and stuff like that to get the color to kind of come up. So, okay, work on those.